what's your name?
My name is Conway. I came up from Dublin today
Brilliant.
with a contingent of women, all speaking out and shouting out in favour of women's rights. We're fed up about our rights being downgraded, subordinated to trans rights, or to trans demands, probably more like it. 1% of the population at that most, and we are silenced. And I've campaigned my whole life for women's issues, worker struggles, etc. And all the people I was working alongside of are now think I'm on the far right, but I'm a socialist. I absolutely reject those horrible accusations against women who are fighting for women's rights.
That's what they try and do, and they try and control the narrative. That's what I'm saying to the BBC. They put labels on people,
yes,
try and shame them, try and shrink them, and try and silence them.
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing. But you know, they're not going to succeed, because we are not going to allow us to go back or even further. Like, I could honestly say, in the 100 years since the foundation of the Irish state, there hasn't been such an erosion of women's rights. Everything we've won them, but we can't sort of say we're women. So if we're invisible and we're not actually able to speak as our sex, well, what do they mean? They mean that your changing rooms, your spaces, you can't speak out. Sports, and you cannot speak out because you could lose your job. I mean, that's absolutely horrendous. And the audacity of them to sort of say, to label us on the far right, it's absolutely almost fascistic to say to people, if you open your mouth, you could lose your job. We tell our employer. But you see, the problem is that governments, the entire political establishment, have bought in to this toxic ideology, because that's what it is.
Why are they controlling the narrative? Why are they pushing this agenda, do you think?
I think money speaks. There's big money behind this.
Such a small minority of people.
I know, but nonetheless, if we look at the United States is where this has come from, and a lot of people are having surgery or on medication, and they don't have a public health service like in Western Europe. So there is more children transitioning, and because of the nature of the health service in those countries, that they're getting on health insurance. So it's very, very frightening. So there's money to be made, money in terms of pharma, money in terms of private medicine, and so it's quite sinister that big corporations, and everybody is behind it. Never in the history of the struggle for contraception, for abortion rights, for divorce rights, for anything in the 26 counties have we had such a coalition ranged up against. We didn't have any of that support for any of those struggles. It was always tiny, the support. It was such a battle to win those things. But this is a top-down movement. Which is quite scary. It's quite scary, and it's not just in the Western world. It's all over the place. And definitely, I'm quite think it's quite a sinister development that something is pushed, most definitely, and is coming from Washington.
What do you think, coming down from down south, that they've just announced in the GAA that they're allowing males to play in the GAA sport along with young girls?
Shocking, but who knows? I mean, it's quite possible that there's big pharma in the south of Ireland, which there is quite a lot of the companies. Who knows what clubs they're sponsoring, or if there's deals behind closed doors? Who knows? I mean, it's very unusual. The majority of people want safety in sports for women. The players want safety in sports. So I would really question how supportive that is, how the players support it. And some of these men who want to play in those teams are definitely have a fetish